All right, last review of the week. We're going to talk about solving for x. Let's start with kind of a basic one. Remember, our goal in all of these is going to be to get x by itself, and we do that by moving everything away from the x over the equal sign. So I have a plus 5 here. I'm going to move it over. When I move that over, my operation changes from addition to subtraction. So what I have now is 3x equals 12. Now I need to move my 3 over. I'm going to work up here. When I move that over, the operation changes from multiplication to division. I don't know why I put a 2 there. Hold on. To division. If it will simplify, I need to go ahead and simplify that out. 12 divided by 3 is 4. If it doesn't, just leave it as a fraction. All right? Now let's look at this one. Order of operations says we start inside my parentheses. I can't do anything, so I look outside. There is a 2 there, so I need to distribute that 2 into my parentheses. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 1 is 2. And now I just start moving things away from the x. I'm going to move my plus 2 over. It's going to become minus 22 minus 2. So 2x equals 20. Move up here. Now I'm going to move my 2 over. I'm multiplying it here. When I move it over, it becomes division. 20 divided by 2 is 10. All right, this one adds another step. And that step is that the idea is we need to get all of our x's on one side and all of our non-variable terms or all of our terms with just numbers to the other side. So I'm going to move my 5x over here. When I do that, the operation changes from the understood plus to the minus. Now I'm going to move my 12 over. When I do that, the understood, or not the understood, the plus 12, oh goodness. The plus, hold on, becomes a minus. So now I have 7x minus 5x, which is 2x, equals 26 minus 12, which is 14. I'm not done. X is not by itself, so I'm going to move it over. It's going to become 14 divided by 2, which is 7. Same thing here. I'm going to move my 2x over. That minus is going to become a plus. Now I'm going to move my minus 5 over. When I move the minus over, it's going to become a plus. Simplify things. I get 6x equals 49 plus 15 is 64. Get rid of my 6. 64 over 6. That's not going to simplify down. However, it will reduce. I can divide both of them by 2, and I'm going to get 32 over 3. And that is how my answer is going to stay. This is the kind we just did last week, where our first step is to find a common denominator. So what can 4 and 2 become? They can both become 4. So I'm going to write it on top. Step 1 is to find a common denominator. Step 2 is to cancel. 4 over 4 cancels out. 4 over 2 becomes 2, and there's nothing to cancel that last 4 out. Now I multiply. All that is here is an x, so that first term is x. This 2 has to be distributed to both pieces. 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times 1 is 2. And then the last piece is 16 times 4. 16 times 4 is 64. Now I just have a flat problem to solve for x. Move this 2 over, so 7x equals 64 minus 2 is 62. Move the 7 over, whoops. Move the 7 over, and you end up with 62 divided by 7, which isn't solvable. Well, it's solvable, but you get a decimal. So what you're going to do is just leave it as 62 over 7. I wanted to throw one more of these in here because it's a little bit wonky. So remember, step 1, find a common denominator. I have x squared, I have x. Remember, when we're dealing with variables, we want the biggest one to be our common denominator. So in this case, our common denominator is x squared. I am going to write it out like this so I can see what cancels and what doesn't cancel. So on this first one, 1x cancels. The second one, both x's cancel because that's x squared. On the third one, 1x cancels. Next step is multiply 6 times x. There's nothing left with that 5 to multiply, so it stays, equals 1 times x, which is just 1x. And now I just solve for x. I'm going to move that 5 over. When I move the plus 5, it becomes minus 5. I'm going to move my 1 over. When I move it, it's understood plus, remember? So I'm going to make it a minus when I move it. So what I have is 5x equals negative 5. So x equals negative 1. And that's it. All right, now we had a lesson on eliminating decimals. I'll be honest, it's easier just to work these. It is easier to just start moving things over. Move my negative 1 over. When I move that over, it becomes plus 1. 0.2x equals 1.4 plus 1 is 2.4. Did I type that in my calculator? Yes, I sure did. Okay, last step, 2.4 divided by 0.2. Now, I told you before, always leave your answers as fractions. However, when the problem starts as decimals, you need to leave them as decimals. The reality is, after this lesson, you're rarely going to see things in decimal form. This is one of those lessons that's on the checklist that we have to do, but we never see it. My assumption is in higher level, not higher levels, but in sciences, you will use this more than you will in algebra. All right, so 2.4 divided by 0.2 is 12, so x equals 12. Same thing here. We're going to move our plus 3 over, and it's going to become 2.05 minus 0.3 gives me 1.75. Move my 5 over and divide by 5, and I end up with 0.35. All right, so the whole thing about eliminating your decimals is not going to be super helpful right now. Later on, probably maybe at the end of Algebra 1 or into Algebra 2, there's one type of problem that you might have the benefit to use this concept, but before we get there, we will come back and review this, and it'll make more sense at that point why you would even need to eliminate your decimals, okay? So for right now, just work the problem. One thing I want to point out, when you are doing your homework, the homework thing is short answers, so you have to type your answer in. So when you are given, or when your answer is like 12 over 7, use the slash like this. What this means is 2 over x. What this means is 2x over 3. What this means is 2x plus 1 over x. So when you're typing in your answers, use that slash to indicate that it's a fraction. All right? Get on and do your homework questions. If you have any questions, text me.